But in the real world, our growth is set to be slower than every G20 country except one, Russia. And our inflation is going to be double the rest of the G7. Does he think that denying the facts, staring him in the face, makes things better or worse for working people?
Mr. Speaker, the facts are, as the IMF has said, that the UK came out of COVID faster than anybody else. That's why we had the fastest growth in the G7 last year. That would not have happened, Mr. Speaker, if we'd listened to Captain Hindsight. And if he studies their forecast, we will return to being the fastest by 2024 and the fastest in 2025, Mr. Speaker. That's what the IMF's forecasts say. He asks about, read it. He asks about working people, Mr. Speaker. This is the government, this is the party that supports working people. Unlike them, with the biggest increase, yes, I'll tell you what's going up. The living wage is going up, Mr. Speaker, by record amounts. Employment is going up, Mr. Speaker, by record amounts. 500,000 more people. They don't want to hear that. Let me give them the figures. 500,000 more people in paid employment now than there were before the pandemic began, and youth unemployment at or near record lows. Under Labour, just to remind you, everybody, under Labour, youth unemployment rose by 45%.
Mr. Speaker, this must be the Oxford Union debating skills we've been hearing so much about. Failing to answer the question, rambling incoherently, throwing in garbled metaphors. Powerful stuff, Prime Minister. Here's the problem. It's not just his words that are complacent, it's his actions as well. The cost of living crisis was blindingly obvious months ago. But he said worries about inflation were unfounded. And he backed a tax-hiking budget. Does he think that his choice to be the only leader in the G7 to raise taxes during a cost of living crisis has made things better or worse for working people?
Mr. Speaker, as I've just explained to the House, and I'll repeat it once more, this government and our Chancellor cut taxes on working people. The national insurance contribution went down, Mr. Speaker, by an average of £330. But if he's talking about the health and care levy, maybe that's what he's droning on about. Look at the health and care levy, Mr. Speaker. That is what is enabling us to pay for 50,000 more nurses, to pay for clearing the COVID backlogs. How tragic, how pitiful that the party of Bevan should now be opposed to that investment in the NHS, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, he's an ostrich, perfectly happy keeping his head in the sand. Working people are worried about paying their bills. They're spending less and cutting back. That's bad for business and bad for growth. Working people are looking for help. But this week, millions will look at their payslip and see a tax rise with his fingerprints all over it. Does he think that his 15th tax rise has made things better or worse for working people?
Mr. Speaker, what we're doing for working people is not only lifting the living wage by the record amount, helping people on universal credit with a £1,000 tax cut, Mr. Speaker, but also cutting national insurance contributions, lifting the threshold so that on average people pay £330 less, Mr. Speaker. But what we're also doing is taking our country and our economy forward, investing in our NHS, which is a priority for the people of this country, unlike for the Labour Party, Mr. Speaker, but also ensuring that we have record creation of jobs, Mr. Speaker, and that is what matters. High wage, high skill jobs. 500,000 more. They don't care about jobs, Mr. Speaker. We do. We believe in high wage, high skill jobs, and that's the answer for the economy.